I know at this point you're sick of debate, so instead of calling this the Jon Stewart, Bill O'Reilly rumble in the air-conditioned auditorium, maybe it's the rumble in the very fancy hotel ballroom. So let me ask you this follow-up question. What happened to the Rockefeller Republicans? Like, is there room in the party for a Bill Weld, Olivia Snow, or someone? Or is it because, or even Ronald Reagan, or is it that the Tea Party ideology is what we're going to see for the party?
Well, no, look, there's going to be a struggle within the party whether Romney wins or loses.
Howard, what do you think has been the defining issue of this election? Is it indeed jobs, as we keep hearing from Romney, and as an ardent, almost, I heard crazy at times, environmentalist, does this bug you?
I think jobs is the #1 issue, but there's always another issue that's the big issue in every campaign, and that is, does this candidate care about people like me?
Well, let me ask you about the latest jobs numbers. You know, we had the final report that came out yesterday, and it seems that they weren't bad enough to hurt Romney or good enough to really help Obama. And of course, you all deal a lot with crisis and such. I think that overall, the public is very sick of the spinning that we always get. Can you comment a little bit about that, of what they're saying?
The answer is yes, they are.
We like to think that we're so highbrow in our politics and that we're so sophisticated and smart because it's all about the issues and the intricacies of the economy. Nah, do I like him? Okay,
so let me ask you this. Given the likability factor, the feelings factor, do you think Hurricane Sandy actually hurt Romney?
Well,
because some people say that he had sort of an unemotional response, and then you see Governor Chris Christie praising Obama, you see Bloomberg, you know, in this time where Obama's hugging a woman and that picture gets all over the internet. Do you think it's hurt him?
If a natural disaster comes in, it generally hurts the incumbent by 1 or 2 points because people blame the incumbent for everything, whether they have a right to blame them or not. That's just the way voters are.
I just think all the heat's on Bloomberg now for the New York Marathon, so maybe the president is spared in this one. I think all the heat is on Bloomberg right now for the marathon.
But so the theory is that the literature claims that it's a 1 or 2 point gap. I don't see that here. I think the president's got a little bit of momentum here.
Talking about fixing things, question for you. A lot of economists feel that the only way to work on the deficit is a combination of budget cuts and revenue increases. And it seems like your party is so dead set against any revenue increases, even minor ones, in light of other major budget cuts. Do you think that is realistic?
No, I don't, to be rather frank about it.
And the way to fix the deficit is you raise taxes back to the Clinton level, you make serious defense cuts and get some of the bloating out of there that's been put in not by the Pentagon, by the people in Congress, and you start to make serious human services cuts. Then that's not enough. Then we got to go to entitlements. And we got to make serious cuts there, too.
Here's my question for you. By the way, that's a $10 fine. I'll collect later.
Yeah, I thought it was off.
Talking about entitlements, for the Democrats, discretionary spending, as you brought up, always gets a lot of attention every election, but really it's a small percentage compared to entitlement spending. And it seems like the Democrats will not address these issues that are sensitive, like raising the age for Social Security or living longer. It seems like it just is not realistic.
Okay, so let's talk about what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, and then let's talk about why entitlements hasn't been on the table.
Do you think we should go off the fiscal cliff as well?
I'm not quite, I will ride with Howard to the fiscal cliff, and I may do this.
Like Selma and Louise.
Just let me go right over. Thanks a lot.
I'm like this, and then I'm like, okay, let me get out here.
I'm Brad Pitt. I'm standing on.
Let me tell you.
I'm not sure I'm ready to do.
I think going over the fiscal cliff ultimately sends a very strong positive message to investors. We are serious about the deficit.
Can I open this up to the floor, because the heat's been on me to ask the question, so I'm going to make you guys step up.
And I know that's hard work for you,
It is.
Because serious debate doesn't sell so well among the American people.
Also, a point that I brought up earlier is that I think that there's a differentiation between news and what we call sort of scheduled whining, because it's very cheap to get pundits on air, let's be honest about it, and just complain and talk and criticize and bring up clips and make jokes about it, put on puppets, all those things. It's a cheap way to do news. I really call it the equivalent of reality TV on the network news.
It's true.
It's what fills cable news. You fill an hour very easily. I mean, we could probably talk for 5 hours here and,
But the good news is people under 35 aren't buying this and they don't watch cable television.
Yes.
I think that's a very good thing.
Except for Comedy Channel.
So you have that combination of money pressures and media pressure on these candidates.
There has to be a bipartisan recognition that, especially in these times, there is an overall disgust about the money that is needed to run in this country and the money that is spent for campaigns. When we're talking about, these cuts and entitlement spending and everything, and they're talking about billion-dollar war chests that have to be raised.
But that has nothing to do with cuts and entitlements. See, that's a mistake. No, I'm not going to let you get away with that.
Yes.
That's a mistake that is made in the media, where they make false equivalencies. What I do with my $1 billion is my business.
Yes, but
I'm
still,
not, let me finish my point. It's not what the government does with the money it takes from me. If there's a cut in entitlement, it has nothing to do with the fact that I want to write a $1 billion check to a presidential campaign. That's what I want to do with my money. That's my property, and I don't care how you feel about that.
That's true, but I think it does add to the voter apathy,
So-
the voter disgust, the fact that
Because
there's...
you,
If I could moderate here for a minute.
no, because
Hey, I thought you were supposed to pander to the moderator. Didn't they say to Martha Raddatz,
I'll
so
finish
glad
this
to
point,
see
then
you?
I'll shut up. Because you, as media, you set up and create the false equivalency. You make the people believe that there's somehow some equivalency between his money in his pocket, my campaign, and the government decision to cut spending programs. There is no equivalency there.
Well,
Well, actually, we're on the bleeding meeting, one
excuse me,
local
could
news
I
only, but I understand what you mean.
Possibly
Definitely
get a
cable
word
news.
in sideways here. Do I have to scream to be heard here?
Briefly, what advice would you give to whoever holds office in January?
I think the one advice I would give would, cut the crap out and get serious about the nation's health economically and so forth. Just cut the crap out.
And Mr. Dean, what would you say?
I would say it, but I probably wouldn't use that word. But
Would you be
no,
more polite or less polite?
no,
He would be less polite, trust me.